So first of all, hello everyone and welcome to today's boot camp, which is going to be on your cloud security practitioner. So myself, Rishabh Kotyal, and I'm going to be the speaker into this whole your webinar over here, a boot camp, which we are conducting for 2 days. And now, let's just go ahead and talk about the your our cloud security practitioner. So before we jump onto the today's agenda, I just want to discuss one thing that in InfosecTrain we have launched our new in-house cloud security practitioner course. So I'm just going to give you a bit of the idea that what this course is all about. Okay, and this will give work as a buffer time and let other candidates join our session. So I'm again announcing that we have launched our in-house cloud security practitioner course. And this course we have created to keep in mind for those people who are working in the security domain, right? And this is going to be a mid-managerial level course itself. And these are for the people who are familiar with the security, your field, security terminologies, and someone who wants to start their, career into the cloud and cloud security. So in this course, we will be starting with the very basics of, there is going to be the 10 modules in total, and in those 10 modules we will be starting with the very basic, that how cloud computing it works, very basic of the cloud, that what is cloud, how it evolved, what kind of the hypervisors we are having, what is cloud, what are the different vendors, how they work, all these kind of things we are going to do. We will be talking about the benefit and all. So any security professional who wants to learn the cloud, this will be a great place to start with. So we will be learning what is that. And from here, this course will be taking you through the basic, then taking you to the security and infrastructure part, and then taking you to the bit on the GRC part as well, governance, risk, compliance. And you will see as soon as I will move into the module 2, so we will be talking about how you can deploy the compute resources, how you can configure them. And this course is also going to be a hands-on course as well, where we will be, all our practicals you can get hands-on, we are maintaining them, right? So all of them will be marked with the hands-on over here. We will be talking in the module 2, deploying and understanding compute and its configuration, deploying a VM, disk options, okay, how application work, how threat modeling will be working. So each different vendors, they have their own threat modelings, right? So we'll be talking about these threat modeling suggestion from the both of the your AWS and Microsoft, which is market leader. Now in module 3, we will be going ahead and we will be discussing about your we will be discussing about your how to deploy and monitor network resources. So we will be talking about things like the private cloud, public cloud networking, how the hands you can deploy a virtual network, how you can do the jump server, bastion server, VPNs, these kind of things you will be learning, right? Cloud logging services, network visibility, troubleshooting the network, enabling the logging option, infrastructure as a code, deploying the network using the VM and VM using the JSON files, overview of the best network security practices. So you will be learning that. So you can see that we are starting from the very basic and then jumping into the security part. Then we will start discussing the encrypt and protect data. Again, there is going to be some hands-on talking about how the availability option work, encryption option, data at rest encryption, data in transit encryption, storage account. We'll be seeing demonstration like deploying SQL Server, what are the options in there, okay, data asset management, even lifecycle management of the same, of your data. So all these things we'll be seeing in the module 4. Module 5 will be a quick overview of the containers, because containers are also becoming a part of our cloud services nowadays. In the module 6, we'll be talking about the IAM, how IAM it works, okay, policies, permission, how you'll be playing with the temporary credentials, and then we'll be having some of the basic hands-on over here. Then we'll be talking about secret management, how to enable the multi-factor authentication, okay, different security operation services, IAM best practices, and then audit and identity governance features in the very specific Azure you will be looking. In module 7, we'll be talking about the incidents, okay, how to handle cloud-based cloud incident response life cycle, how SOAR it work, and bit of a hands-on as well. So 7 will be detecting and handling cloud incident with security operation. Okay, we'll be talking about the security as a service, cloud-based SIM modules. We will be seeing options like Sentinel, AWS Guard, 365 Defender. Then module 8 is going to be on your BCDR. Okay, business continuity and disaster recovery. So how business continuity and disaster recovery it work in the cloud, right? What are the few options hands-on practically that will be with the different vendors? We'll be looking for that. Then in the module number 9, we'll be talking about handling the legal issues and policies in the cloud, right? What are the different legal framework, auditing, planning and reporting in the cloud, different laws which will be impacting the cloud, and all that kind of things will be there, right? How the AWS trusted advisor work and all these things we'll be discussing. And in the last module, we'll be talking about managing the governance, risk and compliance for the cloud, understand GRC, discuss cloud governance, risk management framework in the cloud. So those kind of the thing will be the part of your module 10. So this was all about our new course that we have launched, Cloud Security Practitioner, and that's why we are having this whole bootcamp for 4 hours for this particular one. So in short, as I was explaining this thing in the again, you can see in the GRC you will have the few hands-on as well. Now, as I have discussed, our new course is going to start from the very basic, move on to the security and infrastructure part, and then move on to the your incident response, BCDR, and your GRC as well. So it will be our mid manager level course. So if you are preparing for the things like CCSP, or all kind of certification, it will be working as a solid base for you guys. Okay, and you will be having a good amount of idea that what things and how things are working in the cloud, how to select the cloud. Now let's just move on to the our agenda for the day, what we are going to cover in the day. Okay, what things we are going to see in the today's webinar. So first of all, as I was explaining guys, that first day is our very basic day, right? So is this course is covering the things from the your basic to the your GRC and legal. So we'll be talking about them. And as you can understand, in 4 hours, we can only have a kind of a overview. We cannot get all the things done. Okay. So for the day one, our agenda is introduction to the cloud and the demo of the cloud resources. This will be the day one. Okay. And day two, again, if someone is interested in the bit on the your incident response, security as a service, right? How these things work, what are the legal risk and all those, a bit overview into that part. That is something that we will be discussing in the day two of this boot camp. Okay, so day one, we are going to go start with the introduction to the cloud, talking about what is cloud, how NIST has defined it, how your ISO has defined it. So anyone who has worked with the your CCSP, or CCSK or any other courses you have done regarding the cloud, so very basic, where they start with how the cloud has been defined by the NIST publication and your ISO definition over here. Now, types of clouds, type of services we'll be seeing. And then in the demo in the Azure, what I am going to show you that how you can deploy a virtual network, how you can deploy a virtual machine and access your virtual environment, with the help of RDP and all. So that is going to be the one part that what we are going to discuss today. Now, we will be starting with the today's bootcamp's agenda, and we will be starting to know that what is the cloud. So, guys, day one is basic, day two is regarding the security as a service, logging services, incident response. So that we are going to discuss tomorrow. Okay, so let's just start today's session. And today's first thing that would be the introduction onto the your cloud. So before I jump into the introduction of the cloud, I think most of you guys will be familiar that, you know, if we look into the human history, nothing has, evolved in a single day, right? If I'm just talking about the Darwin theory here, according, going with that Darwin theory itself. So even evolution of human being, if you look into that one, we are not developed in a single day. So we always say that, uh, you know monkeys are kind of, our ancestor. So that is a whole theory. So we evolved from being, that particular species of, apes, to we come to the part where we are now the human. So same goes with the technology as well in here. So whenever anyone is giving, so like if you will be seeing my Azure lectures there, I give the completely different definition. When I am starting with the Azure fundamentals, I go with a very general definition of a cloud, that what it is. I always try to explain cloud in the simplest term, in the layman term. So when we are talking about this thing, so evolution of cloud is not in the single day. So we know that how our computer has evolved with the time, how your, different infrastructure technology has evolved, and then we are getting the cloud what we have in the present scenario. Now, in the present scenario, you might be thinking, some of the guys who are working in the industry for a long time and haven't explored cloud that much yet. So when I will start explaining the cloud, so it will look like, okay, this technology exists few years early. Yes, right. So these technology exist early, but they all came together and gave us the cloud very later on in the our evolution itself. So when we are talking about the evolution of the technology, so there are different concepts. Some of them I have written over here, okay, although very few, like mainframe, right? But before the mainframe as well, if you will be try to remember, there used to be something like, your location kind of a thing, right? So what we were having the co-location with us. So what it was having, that rather than, having your own physical building, you will be having someone, when we are talking about this co-location. So what you were having, so rather than having a whole, your own building, so what you will be having, you will be having something like a building which you will be hired. So they will be providing you the electricity supply, they will be power, giving you the physical security, they are giving you the, network connections. And then what you are doing, you are getting that building physical security, right? You are having that physical security, you are having the network connections through them, right? And power supply and backup and all those kind of things, okay? Power supply, these kind of the, building is there. So you are having, just like you are renting some space, so you are having scenarios like this: network, power supply from someone. So you are reducing your cost there, and in that particular physical space you are hosting your servers, right? So that kind of thing was going on there. Plus, even though if you were having your own, what we can say, managed service, we'll be calling it the managed service locations. So, provider, so what you were doing in your own organization as well, you were doing things with the third party. You were going ahead and you were hiring, let's say, some network expert, right, to reduce your cost. Someone who will be expert in this, someone, who is good with the servers and all. So you were trying to minimize the cost on the technical part as well. So with the time, what happened is we start having the mainframe, right? So when we are talking about the mainframe itself, so uh, in the mainframe, what you are having, we were having a very big mainframe, which is you can consider is a co-location of your data storage and all, and then multiple endpoint or the dumb terminal was connected to them, right, from that central location to this particular one. And if we look into the history of the mainframes itself, so you will remember that, you will start to remember that they used to, if it goes into the 1990s, they used to acquire around 2000 square feet of a space, right? 2000 to 10,000 square feet of a space. So they were very enormous, right? Very big in a size. then the development start happening. And I think nowadays, if we are talking about the mainframe, they are not larger than a big refrigerator, right? If you look into the size comparison, that would be something like that, right? So we start having those mainframes, we start having the endpoint. So in the evaluation, so what we were having earlier, we used to have the dedicated server, right? So we were having what? We were having the dedicated servers as well. So when we are talking about the dedicated server, so this is the one physical machine, okay? This one single physical machine dedicated for the single use or a single business, like, simply you can say to run a particular website, right? Now these things, they were very expensive, and you have to maintain them, so high maintenance, high security cost was associated with them. Plus, with this, what was happening, we were not even utilizing the full server. So if it is hosting for just one business, this was not very good for them. Then what we go with the virtualization then arrive your virtualization. So with the virtualization, what we start happening, we were having the virtualized private server, okay? So after that what we start happening, we start having the virtualized private server for us. So we were having one machine. Now one machine is dedicated to one business. Same thing. Now this time in this physical machine, we virtualize into the multiple sub machines. And now these sub machine we were running, let's say, but up to now I was just running one single web app. Now with the help of virtualization, I can run multiple web application in this same physical machine. So there come your time of the virtualization. So in that virtualization, I think just a quick overview. So I think you must have heard about that there are two type of the virtualization. There is your type 2, and then there is your type 1. Type 2 and type 1 of the virtualization. So when I'm talking about the type 2 of virtualization, so in the type 2 virtualization, what you are having, a very simple example, like I love to use VMware on my machine, right? So what was happening, I am having a physical machine. On that physical machine, I am having an operating system, let's say Windows. Although right now I am on the, on the MacBook, but yes, here, for example, there is the, then you are having the VMware installed in that one. So on that VMware, what you were having, you were having multiple virtualized environment, right? So this kind of a thing is your type 2 VMware. Okay. And type 1 is simple example, which simply you can say bare metal servers, which we are talking about. And this is something that is the base of your cloud computing. So here, what you have a physical machine, a kernel running on that. And on top of this, you are running your hypervisor. So hypervisor is going to enable the virtualization for you, and it will be managing the hardware for your virtual machines, right? So that is going to be the your type 1 of the hypervisor. Okay. So we start having this concept of virtualization, which evolved into the something like the shared hosting. Now thing we started with this shared hosting was on physical machine. Those the physical machine now going to be shared by the different business. So you will be remembering, earlier when this shared hosting come, the charges like, there was the shared hosting by GoDaddy and different one. So the hundreds of business will be sharing some physical machine. So it will be depending on, so what we were relying, this concept were relying that if one physical machine is shared by different people, now, sometime one person is going to use it, some person will be underutilizing this machine. And this way we will be managing our resource. So there comes the concept of the shared hosting. And all these concepts that we have discussed, in the end, evolved as the cloud, right? Everything, all of these things like co-location. I was talking about this concept. There is concept of MSP, right? So all these concepts, they came together and they give you the particular cloud technology. So all these things, it evolved into your cloud technology. Now, how we can define the cloud computing? So first of all, I'm going to define this in the very layman term, and then I'm going to define it in the very technical terminology, or I will say standard definition, with the help of the NIST standard, NIST SP that 145, and then I will be defining it in the term of your cloud computing of the ISO IEC 17788. Okay, so I will be defining it in that. But first, let's just simply understand in the simple and the layman term how we will be defining a cloud computing. So I always give one example to all the guys, like uh, if you go back again, as I was talking about the evolution. So I remember first we used to have only one TV channel, right? So all of us are hooked into that particular TV channel. Then we start having the era of the DTH, and we start having the era of the different your services, cable services and all. So in that, what we used to have, we have one thing which was the one feature that I personally liked at that time. I think I was a teenager, so I love that movie on demand. So we can demand for a movie, and that would be provided onto our TV channel by our cable service guy. So they were providing us that movie, and we are very happy that I'm watching this new movie over here. So that was the movie on demand. So similar to that, if I'm talking about the cloud computing, I'm always saying that this is my on demand IT service. So in simple one line, I would say one statement, how I define my cloud computing is, I always say this is your on demand IT service. Okay. So how it is, like, if suddenly I am requiring a storage account where I want to store my particular data. Okay, what we will be doing is we were talking about the on-demand IT service. So when we are talking about the on-demand IT service over here, so as I was saying, that let's say that I want to store something, right? I want to go ahead and I just want to I just want to go ahead and I just want to do something like store some files on the cloud. So what I will do, I will go to my cloud service provider and I will be saying that I am requiring 1 TB of space, right? And start uploading my data over there. I require to deploy a web application on, let's say that on the ASP.NET. So I will be saying that I want to use your service and deploy your ASP.NET over here, right? So that is something that I will try to do. So this is something that is going to be in there as well. ASP.NET, I deploy a service. So whatever you required, a virtual machine, computing power, even some of the Internet of Things related services, you require the artificial intelligence, big data related services. Everything is going to be in there. So all these images are courtesy of your Microsoft Azure. So you will be seeing the most of the images are from the Microsoft Azure itself. So this is going to be in here. Now, one thing that what we will be doing is okay, so I was talking about the in the layman term, what is the cloud computing? So when we are talking about the cloud computing, it is on demand delivery of different IT resource over the internet, which will be enabling the faster innovation, flexible resource, and even in the economy of scale. So like I was explaining, and another example I generally give is, if you have to understand, let's say that you have that VMware, right? That I was talking that I have installed in my Windows machine. Now, in there, if I create different, now I am running the Kali Linux in there, for example. So there are 10 candidate and I start creating Kali Linux 1, 2, 3, and 10. Now, through a web application portal, what I did, I start giving all of them their username, password, and through that they can access these Kali machines. So what they can say that what we are accessing a cloud, right? So that is going to be it. But in general term, what is a cloud computing? It is on demand IT service. I want a compute service, I want web application based service, I want a database service, security service. I just click on the option and my cloud service provider will be providing me that. Like in the market right now, there are the top leaders, three top, big player. Number one is your AWS. Okay, it is in the market for around 20 years, market leader in here. Second is going to be your Microsoft Azure. Okay, and third is going to be is your GCP. Okay, Google Cloud Platform. So these three are in the market. There are others as well, like going on. Okay, so you can go ahead and you can just work with the your different scenario as well. Right. Okay. So as I was saying, so you can go ahead and you can just, work with those, these different market leader. There are different one, Oracle, Ali Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, and different vendors are also there, which you can use for this one. So this is a very layman definition of your cloud. Now, what is a technical definition of a cloud? Now when we are talking about the definition by the cloud, so your definition of cloud is actually proposed in the different of your publication. One is the NIST special publication 800-145, which is going with the name the NIST definition of cloud computing. Second is given by your ISO IEC 17788, which is cloud computing overview and vocabulary. So I will be deep diving into both of these things. We will be discussing what they have done, how they are different from each other. So we will be examining what these two different aspects and these different stories are going to tell us. So first is the, out of these two, this is the elder brother. So your NIST SP 800-245, this is the elder brother here, because it comes around, this was proposed in the 2011. Now, this ISO one, it has been, I think it was stated in the 2014. So this give you more granular level definition, more granularity in your definition and its aspect that what should be there, what should not be there. So it is more in depth. Okay, ISO ones, and this is the very basic one which define what is going to be the cloud computing. So when you will be going through the definition of both of these, you will be understanding where it is going to work. So when we are talking about the NIST special publication 800-145, it talk about the economy, right? How you come to the, how the economy is going to work with the cloud computing, how what kind of services it should be providing. While ISO 1 is going to elaborate and give the rich definition of the cloud, right? So how you're working, how you want to understand, that will be depending on it, how you want to implement. If you want to just do the very basic function of the cloud, right? So the NIST is going to be much suitable for you. While if you want to go and talk in depth in granular level control in your cloud, then I think ISO will be helping you out to understand the cloud over here. So when we are talking about the NIST special publication SP 800, it has given its own definition over here. But out of this definition, this is the abstract. Like, okay, from where I have picked this thing up, just give me a sec. There is going to be this. Okay, so now we are here. So if you will see, this is the NIST standard publication 800-145. And in this part, if you will see, this is that abstract that I have picked. Okay. So from the NIST special publication, this is the abstract of that whole thing, that what is a cloud and how you can define the cloud itself. So you can download this one as well, this whole document. I I think I have opened it on the another tab over here. So you can read it over here. This is the PDF document. Okay, So what is the authority, purpose, audience, how it has defined services, and everything that is going to be in there. So if someone is interested, you guys can go ahead and explore these things over here. Right now, in this particular definition, what is actually, what thing is actually highlighting the characteristic of your cloud services? That is something that what we are going to focus. Now if you will be reading this, so first of all I am going to read whatever is in my screen, okay? Then I will be telling you that where you should be focusing. So abstract of the NIST SP is special publication is that cloud computing is a model for enabling ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing service like network, server, storage, application, and service that can be rapidly provisioned and released with the minimal management effort or service provider interaction. This cloud model composed of 5 essential characteristics, 3 service model, and 4 deployment model. So when we are talking about this thing, so if you have to understand the cloud, which is the highlighted part of this definition is, first thing, it should be ubiquitous. Okay, means it is accessible from everywhere. It should be easy to use. It should be your on-demand network access to share pool of computing resource. So that on-demand part which I was talking about. So it is talking about the same, that cloud computing should be giving you the feature of very specific. It should be giving you the feature of very specific your if I want any on-demand service, not only the network access but any service. So if I want to access a VM via my network, it should be available, right? So it should be on-demand network access to a shared shared pool of configurable your computing. And another important part is that that can be rapidly provisioned and released, right? So these are the few features in the cloud computing definition which is given by the your NIST standard. What it should be ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access, which is giving you the access to a shared pool of resources, right? And which you can rapidly provision and release. If I am requiring to work with a VM, right, my task is done, I can quickly go ahead and delete this, or we can say deallocate this, right? So whatever, once my task is done, if I require something to work with, it can instantly be available and instantly can be released as well. So this is the one feature given by the your NIST SP, and we'll be talking this bit detail. Okay, we'll be talking about the 5 essential characteristics, service model, deployment model. Those things we are going to talk about. Then in 2014, the younger brother of the cloud definition come, which give you more in-depth detail regarding the same, which will be not talking only the about the your overview of it. It will be going bit in depth, different kind of services as well. So here again, if you want to see this thing, okay, you need to be member over here to download this thing. You need to create an account. You can download then this whole abstract of the ISO certification. So here, if I will show you the overview over here, my session is actually expired over here, but this will be the forward scope, then definitions, how the things has been defined, abbreviation, cloud, what is a general definition. So I have sum up these things over here for you. So when we are talking about the ISO IEC 1778, so again I'm going to read it out loud, that cloud computing is paradigm for enabling network access to a scalable and elastic pool of shareable physical and virtual resource. So almost same thing it is talking about, with self-service provisioning and administration on demand. So it is composed of key characteristics, cloud computing rules and activity, capability type, and different service category. So cloud deployment model and cloud computing, it also defines something like the cloud computing cross-cutting. So this is something that I will be talking with you, okay, discussing with you. Now, when we are talking about this over here, capability and all, so what is the highlighting part of this whole thing? So first is going to be the that it should be, paradigm for enabling the network access. It should be giving the network access to the scalable we have talked about, but elasticity is again something which is important. Scalable and the elastic pool of shareable physical or virtual resource with self-service provisioning. Why self-service provisioning is important? That I don't need to contact my cloud service provider again and again, right? I don't need to do that, right? This is what self-service provisioning, that's why it is important. So when ISO defined this thing, they were talking about that you should be given access to a shareable physical or virtual resource, you know with the help of self-service provisioning, and that pool should be elastic, quickly deployable, quickly, according to the need. You can scale it, instantly. So those kind of thing was defined with the your particular NIST, sorry, ISO IEC here. Now let's just deep dive into the definition that has been given by these particular vendors over here. Okay, so first thing that they are discussing here is going to be the we will be going with the NIST SP 800 145, which is the NIST definition of cloud computing. So what it has defined as the five essential characteristic of your cloud, right? So again, if I will show you the same NIST publication one, this PDF, if you will be scrolling down. So I'm just, making sure that nothing here has been made up by me. All that I'm discussing, that is, defined by your NIST, and I'm just accessing those things. So here, if you'll be looking into this one, you will find out these are the essential characteristics. Okay, these are the five essential characteristics that they have defined. Like I'm starting with the on-demand self-service, that a consumer can unilaterally uh, provision computing capability such as server time, network storage need automatically without requiring human interaction with the each service provider. So this is something that I was discussing with you, right? So when we are talking about this whole thing, so we are talking about the first thing that is coming is the your on demand over here, right? So on demand require the minimal manual engagement. So when I'm talking about the on demand self service, it means minimal manual engagement between cloud service provider and the your consumer. So if consumer want to provision any computing capability, network, storage, I want to create a vnet, I want to create a VM, I want to create a web application, or I want to create a database service, right? So I can do it instantly without even calling or interacting with my cloud service provider. Then second, broad network access. So when we are talking about the broad network access, it is the ubiquity of accessing different services which can bypass your traditional tool like a browser. Means what I'm talking about, that your service should be accessible. Nowadays we are having the mobile phones, through the laptop, okay, to the different resources, web applications, right? You have the web app feature, you are having the, even not only that, it should be accessible via the your bash shell, through the PowerShell you can control these things, JSON. So through a different variety of access you will be getting over here. How you want to get it, that would be up to you itself. Then there is going to be the your resource pooling, right? So with the resource pooling, the provider of your computing service, your cloud service provider, what it is doing, when we are talking about the your location, physical location, so I think everyone will be aware, when we are talking about the cloud service provider, these cloud service provider, they have the different physical locations. Okay, like Azure provide the most region where they have the data center, In those data center, they have the physical machines. Now, in these physical machines, there is going to be the multiple tenant. Even a single user can go ahead, a organization can go ahead and start utilizing their server. Now, on a same physical server, there could be an instance that my VM is also running, and let's say that someone from the KPMG go there and they deploy their VM. It is also running in the same thing. So we are doing what? We are doing the resource pooling onto this particular part itself, right? So this is something that is going to be in there. Then there is going to be the your rapid elasticity. So whenever we are talking about the elasticity, I think two feature which is advantage of the cloud computing as well, that is going to be your elasticity itself. So again, one of the feature is rapid elasticity. It means quick expansion of resource and service consumption, but also if there is no need, also remove it or relinquish it. Okay, with the when you no longer require any service, you can relinquish as well. So let's say that so that there was a VM and it start using 80% of its capability CPU users, and we are fearing that let's say I was running some batch service on this one and it will start consuming the CPU use. Now I want to deploy another VM itself, right, which can share the load with this one. So either this one or increase its capacity, its CPU capacity over there. So that is something that you can do, right? So no matter inward outward, you want to scale up scale down, that should be quickly, right? Let's say that once my use come around, I deploy another VM and now I start sharing the load with that. Now my task is completed and it come back to around somewhere around 25%. So quickly that's another VM, because you will be paying for the service what you are using. So instantly once use of the VM2 is done, you are simply saying terminated, right? So this should be happening automatically, right? When we are talking about this on demand, lesser human interaction should be there, and we should be able to do, like whenever we are talking about the on demand self service, there is a list of the that you want to use this much RAM, this much storage, this much this network service, this subnet. That is just up to you that you can use. Then there is going to be the in the end, uh, when we are talking about the cloud computing, right? I think these vendors, when I was talking about AWS, GCP, they are not doing it for the charity purpose. They want to learn, they want to earn some money over here. So when we are talking about the measured service, so these measured service, these will be in the uh, you can say the metered service. How they are going to be charged? Like when I we create this thing, so there will be different things like how much storage you are using, how much CPU users you are using, for how long. So they create a particular method on the basis of which you will be charged. Like I remember for my demo sessions, when I create a VM with the 8 gigs of RAM, two virtual CPU cores, and around your 128 GB of operating system disk, 16 GB of your temporary disk. So it cost me around in Indian rupees, around 6 Indian rupees per hour, right? So for that you require some measured service over there. So how you are going to charge it, how you are going to use it. Like if I take you back, I was talking about the mainframe. Okay, so how you were charged on the mainframe was million, I think million instruction per second, something like that. This was the unit that they have developed, based on which they were charging you. So we need to have some major service, that how much service someone can have and someone can work. Five essential characteristic. Now when we will be going ahead, the NIST 800-145 have defined your three type of service model: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, right? So these are the three basic models that what we are having. And remember, this is the defined in the 2011, and this is the elder brother. And as I was saying, that if you have to use us, you have a very simple use of a cloud service, so you can implement the cloud, NIST standard, NIST special publication cloud definition for you, which will work on only three services: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. These three services, moving ahead, we will be discussing. Then there is going to be the four deployment model according to the NIST 800 145. There is going to be the your private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. Usually most of the candidate, they are familiar with the private, public, and hybrid cloud, and community cloud is also there, which is there. So we'll be talking about this as well in the upcoming slides. You will be seeing that we have a separate section for these particular things. So this is going to be in there. Okay, and there is going to be this is the one thing. Now second is your ISO. So how ISO has defined same thing, that cloud, and this publication was in the 2014. So up to that time, your cloud was more developed, and it give you the granular level of the definition, how you can define it. Now those five characteristics that we were having, so it start giving you added one more thing in those five characteristics: multi-tenancy. In NIST, multi-tenancy is part of the resource pooling itself, sub characteristic you can say. But in here, ISO IC standard 1778 has defined it as the separate, okay, your a separate essential feature. So multi-tenancy means you can have multiple tenant working over there. So when we are talking about the multi-tenancy, I think we already familiar that there is going to be the multiple tenant using the same services that is there, right? That is the one of the thing that they have added, nothing else in the characteristic part. Same, if we go about the service model, everyone is familiar with the IaaS, PS, and SaaS. Then there come your compute as a service as well. So what they have done is they have added some more things. So they have added the compute as a service, where a cloud service category display the capability provided to the cloud service customer, so that they can provision the use of processing resource that they need to deploy and run the software. In simple terms, what they are talking, the different kind of, if you need to run some software, it will provide you some space where you can run your particular software itself, like you will be able to go ahead and work with the container kind of a thing. Although later down the line, nowadays we call that container service come as the container as a service, right? So things nowadays have become very different. So if you require some computing space, some processing power, some RAM, it will be given to you. Then there will be the communication as a service, means using the cloud you can communicate with someone in the real time. There is going to be your database as a service. So what we did, we start deploying things like the big data services are there from the Microsoft Azure as well, from the AWS as well. So you start using those database services, so they become data, those services. We have the uh one of the service I have, how I'm forgetting the name of this one. There is the Azure stack, there is the where you work with the big data, Apache servers, all those kind of things. I'm just kind of forgetting the name over there. But we have the different database as a services as well. You can even a simple database of service, you can also say that if you deploy a SQL or a NoSQL server, right, and start using them, those will be your database as a service. Then there is going to be your network as a service, so which is will be requiring the your networking services like VPNs, okay, VPN server, SSL, these kind of the services. When you start giving over the, as a cloud service. So it will become your network as a service. So in the market nowadays, people are doing whatever they are giving the name. Like now there is also something which is, SEC, security as a service. So keep, things keep coming over there. So what generally has been defined, XaaS. X means your anything. So anything as a service. That is something, another terminology that keeps going on, because if you're deploying database, you're calling it database as a service. You're deploying container, you call it the container as a service. You deploy the network, you call it the network as a service. So rather than that, we just say that XaaS. But keep in mind that basically there were the three type of services: IaaS, Paas, and the SaaS over here. Okay, now not only that thing, ISO IEC 1778 also help you in the cost cutting. So how there are different vendors. So what you will be looking, if you have to select one of the vendor, so how you are going ahead and how you are going to select your particular vendor, which particular, different between different cloud service provider, how you will be choosing that, which is better for you. So what features you will be looking, so you will be looking into the feature of availability, right? What is their availability, how, how they maintain their availability, how they will be providing availability to you, what are the availability solution. Okay, what are the different governance options that you are getting with the cloud service provider, what are their different promises, or their maintenance service. So if something goes down, how they are going to maintain it, how different kind of the, versions of the your data they are going to keep, how is their, what is their performance. Now two things is very important. One is interoperability and your portability. So thing is that nowadays organization they are using the multi-cloud architecture. Mostly means, let's say big companies, they are going to have the subscription of AWS, they are going to have the subscription of your, you know uh, Azure as well, and GCP as well. So if I am writing some code in here, it should be working in the other as well, right? So how interoperability, how they are providing the interoperability, right? Plus portability. So let's say that at one day I don't want to work with the AWS for the same service anymore, I want to shift it to the Azure. So does it give me the option to portable, migrate from AWS to completely towards the Azure or not? So how much how it is providing the portability as well. Is there anything regarding the lock-in period or any other challenges? Plus, is there any feature which will be giving us auditability, right? Give us the option of auditing, how we can work with the auditing over here. Yes, right. So that is going to be in there, that is going to work. Then, how it is protecting your personally identified information. Does it follow your regulations, right? Particular regulations, local laws or not? How much resilient it is if it faces any, any issue, right? Like a DOS attack or something. So still, how much resilient, fault tolerant it is, how much, still it, whether it will be able to provide us some services, right? And then reversibility. So if you deploy something, you don't want it anymore, so you can retrace your steps and all those kind of things, that will be the reversibility. Then how is their SLA, service level agreement? So what they are defining, how things should be in there. So that will be, what is their service level agreement, that will be also going to be a some promising characteristics over there. So when you will be learning about these, downloading these publications and reading about them, they will be taking you in depth over there, that how these features work, what is their official definition and all. So when we end this whole thing, again I will be ending, because what we were learning, we were talking about the what is cloud. So this cloud, what is cloud we were reading. So this cloud, I will be again ending with this some layman term. Is this cloud is just like your Netflix, Okay, so in the Netflix, what is happening? You goes ahead. First thing you do is you have to purchase that subscription. Okay, let's say that you want that 4 screen at a time, 4K, view that you want, and you want to share it with your family, right? So this is something that what you want. Now, when you want something like this, you purchase subscription. Now, four people are differently watching the different series. Let's say someone is watching Stranger Things. Okay, someone is going to watch your, Shadow and Bones. Someone is watching The Witcher. Someone is watching the, some documentary, right? So this is going on. Now, same cloud is also there. So if I want to use a cloud service, I need to have some subscription, right? I need to pay them. So, they need to know about me. They will be verifying me through the credit card or any other methodology that is going to be in there. So we can go there. And then once I have that particular permission, I can go there and deploy the different virtual, resources, different resources like VM, virtual network, particular Paas service, which is a SQL service. I can deploy something like a storage account. I can deploy a disk, even some security services as the in the Microsoft, AWS Guard Duty, right? So these kind of this resources also I can go ahead and deploy as well, because I'm paying for that. So whatever I'm paying for, I'm using it, and on demand, instantly it will be providing us thing. So in the earlier, if you guys will be remembering one of the thing, that if you have to deploy some scalability, if I just talk about that scalability feature. Okay, so going ahead, I have one slide which is talking about the advantage of cloud. There is the scalability. So if you guys remember who is working in the organization itself, so if you are planning for some scalability, if you have to deploy some machine or server, so from the initiation of this process, that getting the approval, creating the document, getting approval from these your stakeholder, and then deploying this whole process was taking around 2 to 3 months of time, right? That I have to deploy an endpoint or something like that. Now the same thing you can do within the 2 to 10 minutes of time, right? Quickly go ahead and deploy the thing. So cloud has given us the flexibility, pay us, demand anything, and just get it done with, right? So now what we will be talking about, this is the very definition of the cloud in term of ISO and in term of the NIST special publication. So if you guys are interested, you can download those papers. You can find them, free on the web as well. So read about these papers, sorry, publications, ISO IC 17788 and NIST special publication 800 145, right? Read it. It will be telling you the same thing, giving you the very standard of a definition, so you can build your knowledge onto that. Now let's just go ahead, and here we will be now talking about the your different of your types of cloud, or we can say deployment type. So you guys remember NIST was defining public cloud, NIST was defining your private cloud, community cloud, and the hybrid cloud. So how these things are going to work or look like, now we will be discussing these things itself, that what kind of the cloud is going to be in there, right? Okay, so I think first thing that I want to discuss is a public cloud, and there is a reason I want to discuss this thing. Why? Because most of the people or organizations, they are going to use your, what I would say, a public cloud, right? Most of the organization are using the your public cloud. So we will be starting with the public cloud. Now in the deployment model, I think most of you guys will be familiar that when I am talking about the your uh, when I'm talking about your public cloud. So simple example or the thing regarding the public cloud is, you can see 4 point I have written. First is owned and managed by a third party cloud service provider. So it is just like Azure, AWS. It is owned by the Microsoft, managed by the Microsoft, and I'm just going to use its services. So that is going to be a public cloud, right? This is a most common type of the deployment. So what it do, it provide IT resources and services to multiple organization and general public as well. Means if one day, okay guys, I will be taking some of your names for the example. For example here, let's say your I can see Ajay name over here. So Ajay is there. Ajay is going and want to create one account on the public cloud. So Ajay can do this. Now, one day someone ask your, for example, I can see the name of Sujay. Okay, and Sujay is working for the, let's say, one organization which is KPMG. Now, Sujay is creating one account for the organization itself. Okay, it go with the third party and ask for them, draft a contract between the your cloud service provider and it, and start using the service. So here, an individual person can go ahead, an organization can go ahead, and they can start utilizing the services of the cloud itself. Then you can access it through the public network, and it is perfect for the organization which is growing and having the fluctuating demand. It is good for the organization very specifically if you are a particular, if you guys are particular your, I would say, startup. For this startup, I think cloud is kind of a, you know a, a good thing that happened to them, just to control their expenses over there. So we have such kind of a thing as well. So this is the public cloud. So if we talk about some key point, so it is most common deployment. Okay, all services and system is provided, this is owned by someone else and you are using it. So we are working with the multi-tenant environment over here, and this is used by the most of the organization nowadays. So when I'm talking about is different business drivers, what is the benefit of this, that you require no maintenance over here. You have unlimited scalability. Okay, although there is no such thing like unlimited, but it gives you the feel, or a fake sense of that there is unlimited scalability for you, right, for your purpose. Then it also provide you the high reliability as well. It gives you the high reliability, okay, as well as compared to your own, right? Plus if you talk about the responsibility over here, so provider is going to manage most of the thing. He's going to, they are going to own the infrastructure on premise as well, or giving the access, doing hyper, managing those hypervisors, virtualization, all the tasks lies with them. Then after the public cloud, we have the private cloud. So in the private cloud, what is happening is, you know let's say that you want to create your on-prem data center, right? On-site data center, and it could be hosted by the third party as well. That option is also there, that it could be hosted by third party, but you want a, what you will be having, it will be owned, if I will say, it will be owned by exclusive entity, right? It is going to be owned by a very exclusive entity. So what I can say, that the cloud service, one day, Deloitte goes ahead, and Deloitte, what they did, they created the particular cloud, their data center, and now it can be only accessible by the, let's say, that employee of the Deloitte over here. Now that this organization is going to be responsible for operating and maintaining the all the services that they are providing, and they are not going to provide the access to any user by someone else. So when we are talking about this one, so physically and logically it is going to be completely private regarding using the same particular purpose. So why someone will be wanting this thing? So what with the, so that would be called the your business need over here. So in this one, you will be having more control. So in the public cloud, what is happening? Everything is in the public. Your data and everything is residing in the public cloud, public servers. Then in private cloud, you have the more control. You can control, things more. you can go ahead and you will be having more control. Okay, where the data is stored, what governance policy you want to apply, what governance control you want to apply, what kind of retention policy you have. You will be having, in the public cloud you don't know where your data is, right? Although you have selected that it should be in this region, okay, in this data center, but where it is physically you don't know. While here you have the assurance where is your data, you have the control, you can deploy the governance, right? Governance control over there, retention policies in there. Okay, here the thing is, it will be managed by the consumer. It will be managed by the consumer. Person who is consuming its service, it is going to be managed by that particular person itself. Then this infrastructure, all this infrastructure, space, and all this is going to be handled by that same organization. It will be only for the one single organization. Access of this cloud is only for the one single organization itself. That is going to be your private cloud. Then we have, you know so public cloud has its own benefit. It gives you that, as I was talking, give you the sense of unlimited scalability, right? So what you want is, that is the benefit of the public cloud. In the private cloud you have the more control, granular control. You can control governance policy, you can control data policies and all, right? So if you require more control of your data, you will be going for the private cloud. Now if someone wants to use the best of both worlds, they are going to combine the functionality of the public and private cloud. They are going to use both. Okay, so you will allow the application to run in the most appropriate location. So when you have, you want more control, you want to store data, so you will be doing it on the on premise, on your private data center. And when you want to use something like, there is one feature which we call the cloud bursting. Suddenly the load increase in your on premise and you want to start using the your public cloud resources. So you can easily handle that, sudden cloud bursting over there. So when we are talking about the hybrid cloud, it is the combination of two or more cloud. It give you the high elasticity and help you handle those cloud, controls. Then when we talk about the business need of the same thing, so what it give, as I was saying, rapid elasticity. So suddenly in your on-prem, a lot of traffic come. So you can use your cloud-based, public cloud-based solution, and there you can, balance the traffic or use its services. It is cost effective, give you ease of access over there, very useful. Now, it is going to be managed by either the service provider, or so you can say that, Azure, you are giving the option to Microsoft Azure to handle your on-prem as well and your cloud as well, right? So your infrastructure can be, will be located on the on-prem as well and off-prem as well, right? So you have the flexible access of the both. So you want to use best of both world, you are using the your hybrid cloud. Then there comes something like the community cloud. So how I define the community cloud in my, different sessions like security plus, CISA plus, your CH. How I define this community cloud is, let's say few organization they came together, right? Few organization they came together, they are working on a project for public good, for example. So what they will be having, they come together and they develop a particular cloud solution which will be accessible by the some of them. Like if you have read the history of UEFI, Unified Extendable Firmware, your instructor over here. So when you have read about the UEFI, so to develop the UEFI, your NVIDIA, Microsoft, your AMD, all these, different organization, Intel, all of them came together and they developed the UEFI, right? Your because there was the EFI which start used by the Apple's, in the Apple in the 2007. So there was EFI. So all these organizations they came together and they developed the UEFI, okay, Unified Extendable Firmware Interface. So they developed this one and start being used by the everyone. So in such cases, when all organization they came together, So you require exclusive membership of this cloud. So only these organizations will be having access to this one. So one of the another example for this one is, let's say, uh, okay, due to this pandemic, all colleges, they are kind of shut down, right? Now what happened is, in US, all colleges, they came together. They created a central repository where for the student, they start creating a cloud infrastructure where they start uploading lectures. They start creating labs on the different VMs, so that candidate can go ahead and start using the service. So this kind of thing is community cloud, where multiple organizations are coming together on a shared platform. It is not a public one. You require exclusive membership for this one. It has the characteristic of your public and private cloud both, and it is managed by the consumer or any third party service provider itself, right? So this is something that you can talk about like this. So it will have the controls like public cloud. It will have the option of scaling like public cloud as well, right? So this is your community cloud that is going to be in there. So this is the different deployment type of the cloud. So when we will be talking about the cloud models, so I think many times you must have seen this kind of the comparison chart, that you don't require any capital expenditure with the public cloud. It quickly provision, deprovision, and you have to only pay for what you are using. Then in the private cloud, hardware must purchased before you start, and you have to maintain them. Organization has the complete control over the resource and security. Organization is responsible for hardware maintenance and update. Okay. Then in hybrid cloud, it is most flexible. Organized determine where they want to run their application, and organization can control security, compliance, and even legal requirement settings over here. So this is a quick kind of a overview onto the your cloud comparison. And again, I'm not going to explain too much into the advantage of the your cloud computing, because we have to see things bit. I have to do the bit of the demo in the today's session as well. So we will be next talking about some of the advantage of the cloud computing, like what we, and this is whole thing which we have talked in the NIST publication, which we have discussed in the ISO IEC publication. In both, we have already discussed many of these things. These are the features of the cloud as well, and the benefit of the cloud as well. So again, high availability, right? Scalability and elasticity feature, right? Scalability is dealing with, like, if you required more of a resource, okay, so you require to increase number of VM, so it can be quickly provisioned, provision over here. And elasticity is, suddenly you require some need, and instantly, according to that need, how your cloud is going to work. Like I was giving you that example of 80% of CPUs and 25% quickly provision and even deprovision as well. Okay. Plus, cloud is going to give you the global reach. Cloud is going to be the fault tolerant in nature. Okay. So the guys who have worked with the AWS or Azure, you will be familiar with their methodology. Like in Azure, we have the availability zone, availability set. So in the zone, what they do is they have the, in single region, they have the 3 data centers. Okay, and they give you the different option that you can deploy same VM on the 3 different locations. And just with the redundancy, you can increase the availability, and the do can become fault tolerance and different things, right? There is the feature of agility. There is the, you can reduce the customers latency as well. And you have the different predictive cost consideration, right? So there in the, and again, this all I have taken from the Microsoft, you know Azure itself. So these are the defined in the, if you have read the AZ900, from there you have seen such kind of a chart. Okay, it help you with the disaster recovery, and it has the different security feature as well. So we have the disaster recovery option in the cloud as well, security features in the cloud as well. So all these things we have already discussed with the help of the NIST over here. Now, uh, one benefit which I'm just again going to give you the overview, That will be the difference between the Opex and the Capex, right? So when we are talking about the your private data center kind of a thing, so there you will be requiring something like the capital expenditure, means upfront money. So you have to purchase the server, you have to go there, purchase the server, you need to hire a team who is good with the installing the things, creating the active directory, dealing with the servers, administration, all these part, right? And then there is going to be the Opex. Opex is upfront money. So rather than I go ahead and purchase things, purchase server, hire a building, or rent a building for those server, rather than that, what I did, I just go ahead, create an account on Azure, and start creating the VMs, start creating the web apps, and just pay for the service that is in there. So that would be your operational expenditure as compared to the capital expenditure that what you have. And when we were talking about these features like the predictive cost consideration, so these cloud service provider give you something where you can just kind of look that what is estimated cost that you will be having in the month, what will be the estimated bill, right? So that kind of thing you will have. We have the bill calculators as well, a different calculator which will be helping you to understand these things. So these are some of the benefits and deployment type. Now we have three basic services, service type in the cloud. So if you remember, in the NIST 800 145, what we have defined that we are going to have three kind of the services: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and your what, software as a service. And in the ISO we start defining the different as well, like database as a service, and the different kind of the scenario as well. So in the infrastructure as a service, again I am going to explain this thing very in the layman term, simply. So let's say that you go to your cloud service provider, you ask that cloud service provider that I am just going to require a particular virtual network. Okay, I am requiring some of the things like I require network accessibility. In simple terms, I require two virtual CPU core, I required your, let's say, 128 GB of OS disk, I required then 1 TB of the data disk, right? Then you say that I'm requiring 16 GB of the your RAM, right? So you go ahead and you want this thing. Then you say that I want to deploy the one image for the Windows Server 2022 there as well, right? So this is something that you go ahead and you ask from your cloud service provider. Now your cloud service provider will be arranging all these things to you and give you this whole thing to you itself, right? So in the data center, the underlying networking they will be handling, and they will be having the server, physical server, where they will be giving you with the help of virtualization, they are going to provide you these resources. Now how you are going to maintain it, how you want to install it, what services application you want to install it, updation of the your operating system, updation of the your applications, services, how you are going to define the virtual network, subnetting, okay, how you are going to deploy different solutions. Like in the network, we have the very basic firewall, so how you will be implementing them, that is the responsibility of the consumer, okay, of the customer. Cloud service provider gives you all these things, this is that responsibility, he is done. Now rest thing is up to you how you want to go ahead and work with this. So this is closest to the on-prem infrastructure that you will find in cloud, right? This is the closest that you can get. Then there is going to be, this is the infrastructure as a service, where you are dealing with all these things. You have to maintain operating system, you have to update it, launch the machine, and all that thing is your responsibility. Now there is also going to be the something like the platform as a service. So this time I don't want to go ahead and handle the your different operating system, underlying operating system. Not every time I want to go ahead update this particular operating system. I'm not interested in something like this. I don't want to go ahead and uh, let's say that my task there was, I was creating a VM, and on that VM I was hosting a particular web application. Let's say that was also in the ASP.NET. So I have to do the all the rest of the thing. I need to deploy the server in this machine, I need to deploy the code, create an infrastructure over here. But as a developer I don't want to do this, don't want to take something like this kind of a headache. So what I did was, I simply said, okay, I don't want this. So I want to use some service which is going to provide me on demand platform and runtime environment for developing, testing and deploying the software application, so that without focusing on managing this underlying operating system and different infrastructure, I can focus on my work. So I will be using service like the web app service, where it will give me again some, there is going to be a catalog which will be asking me that in underlying machine how much RAM you would be like, how much, what kind of operating system you like if I'm talking about the .NET core. So this .NET core will be working with the Linux and the Windows both. But when I'm talking about the ASP.NET, okay, this is going to work with the very specific Windows server. Okay, Python, it is going to work with only the your Linux server. So it, there will be a catalog and I'm just going to select it that what I want. And now I will only focus on writing my code and publish my code onto this web app. That's it. Okay, I am not going to worried about that. Okay, someone has to update my runtime, someone has to update my runtime updation file. Okay, I have to update my operating system, nothing. I'm just focusing on writing my code, use it. Okay, same thing, I can deploy the SQL as the Paas service as well, where I have to bring my data and define few simple things, what kind of the function I want, and start working with the database. So these kind of thing will be called your platform as a service, where you are not worrying about the underlying architecture. Now there come the third type. Third type is just like a spoon feeding kind of thing. This time I don't need to even develop an application as well. So this is just like I'm bringing my wallet to a restaurant which is, let's say, specialized in the Thai food. Okay, so I'm going there, I'm just giving that money and I want this food and they are giving me that food and I'm just eating it, right? So in this one, a very simple example is, I think most of you people must have seen the Google Drive, right? We have the O365 solution, we have the G Suite, right? We have the calendar, Dropbox. Okay, so what is happening in the Dropbox? I go ahead, create an account and start uploading my you know data over there. In the G Suite, I enroll for this and start creating my users, give them the access, start working with that. So I don't have to worry about that updating the G Suite or something wrong with the code of the G Suite. No, that's just developed. I'm bringing my wallet, paying them, and just start using their service. So it become your software as a service. Like you can see Microsoft Office 365, emails, calendar, these all are the your software as a service over here, right? And quickly we will be you going on with the shared responsibility model. So in the on-premise you will see there is going to be the storage, network, compute, virtual machine, operating system, runtime, application, data access. All these things are going to be managed by you. Now in the cloud base, underlying physical storage, those networks and the compute resources, that is going to be managed by the cloud service provider. I'm going to manage my virtual machine, my operating system, runtime environment, application and the database access. While in the platform as a service, I don't even have to worry about this runtime operating system virtual machine. All that will be handled by my cloud service provider, and I will be just worried about my application and the data and access part, right? So how the application is going to develop, how the data and data I'm going to use, and how I'm going to do the IAM part in that. That is what I will be worried. Now in the software as a service, even I don't have to worry about the application. Application is also developed by someone else. I'm just worried that, okay, how I'm going to feed the data to it, and how I am going to access the data, plus who can access my data. I'm just worried about that. So this is the very basic in the theory of the day one. And now we will be seeing a bit of a demo. So in the demo, guys, I'm going to use the Azure. Okay, so we are going to use the Azure onto this one, and you will be seeing I'm going to deploy a VM, VNet, and and access that particular virtual environment. So for the guys who are new to this, new to the Azure, it will be interesting. And for the guys, as I was saying, the day one is our very basic part where we will be just discussing these different resources, like the VM, VNet, and all these kind of things. So day one is all about the basic, where we have discussed NIST publication and the ISO publication. And in the demo now, we will be seeing the demo of deploying the virtual network, virtual machine, and the virtual environment. So I'm not going to deep dive into that. Okay. And if you guys are interested in the fundamental Azure fundamentals or anything, in the our YouTube channel, InfosecTrain. Okay, so in our YouTube channel you will find there will be my videos regarding the all Azure fundamentals. Okay, so all Azure and fundamentals one you can find over our YouTube channel, InfosecTrain. This recording is also going to be available over there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to jump into the my browser. I'm already logged in, and okay. So what I am going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and you know I will be showing you how to deploy a virtual machine in the Azure. So first of all, in the Azure, I am already having one subscription. So this is my subscription over here. So I will be charged against this subscription over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on create a resource. Now let's say that I want to create a virtual machine. Okay, so why I'm doing this, so I can also separately. Okay, first thing, let me do one thing. Rather than creating the virtual machine, let me just create a virtual network. So can I see the virtual network? No. So let me search the virtual network. Okay, this is going to be it. Let me click on create. Okay, now this virtual network is going to be, in Azure, when you create any resource, so what you generally do is it will be asking you the region where you want to deploy it. So we will be saying that I want to deploy it somewhere in the, Southeast Asia or East US. I will be using the East US over here. So I'm going to say that, I'm going to use it in the East US here. So this virtual network will be only available in the East US. That's why this virtual network is a regional resource over here. Okay, it will be only working in one specific region. So when I'm saying that deploy it in the East US, what I mean is, I mean that this virtual network will be deployed in the your one particular data center in the East US. Okay, and I should be charged against this subscription, right? So there is one basic entity as well that you have to create, that is a resource group. Resource group is just like your empty container. It is logical entity which is going to contain our different things like virtual machine, virtual network. And its benefit is, let's say I'm doing working on a project, or related resources I will be deploying in this resource group. And in there I'm going to deploy VM, VNet. And once it is done, what I am going to do, I am going to just my project is complete, delete this resource group. It will be deleting everything. Okay, so one of the another benefit of this is that, so let me just create that as well. So here let me just click on quickly create new, and let me give it the name of, okay, create new, your cloud security practitioner webinar, and let me click on OK. Let me give it the name over here. Okay, so and okay, I'm going to give it the name VNet 101. VNet 101, and I will be launching it in the East US. Next, I am going to, it is asking me a private IP address range. So I am happy with the private IP address range of 10.0.0.0/16, and I can add the different subnet. Like one is already created over here. If I want to change its name, I'm going to make it like the subnet 0, right? So this is going to be this. Its subnet range is 10.0.0.0/24. Okay, so I'm going to click on save here. I can add another subnet as well. Like I will be going in here and I am going to write it like the, okay, I'm going to write it like the subnet 1. Its range I am going to define as the 10.0.1.0/24. Okay, like this. Click on add. So I can keep adding the subnet in here. So I will next go to the security. I'm just disabling, keeping everything default. You can see that different DDoS protection. I'm just keeping everything as it is. Tags, nothing. Review and create in here. And I'm simply gonna go ahead and now it is just validating that everything is good or not. So once it is fine, it will say that okay, you can go ahead and create a particular virtual network. Now, virtual network deployment should not be taking more than a minute or so, right? So it will be quickly deploying one virtual network for me. Okay, now you can see that its deployment is successful, right? And this is that VNet. If you will see this one, this will look simply, right? Nothing used. You will be seeing that okay, only the subnets are there. So I hope everyone having their networking concept clear. So there is the network. Okay, we have defined the subnet in here. Now what I am wanting to do is that this, if this is a VNet, okay, if this is a VNet and I am already defining the subnet in there. If this is the subnet 0, I am going to deploy a virtual machine inside this one. So in Azure, this is a requirement that if you have to deploy a VM, this VM should be a part of a virtual network. So I will be deploying a virtual machine using this particular subnet, and using this VNet, it will be communicating, right? So this is something that I am going to do. And this is something that what I am wanting. So again, I will be going on to the home page over here. In the home page, create a resource, create a virtual machine over here. And again, let me select that CSP webinar resource group. Let me give the virtual machine the name of the CSP 101. And in here, okay, so where you want to deploy it in the East US. Right now, I don't want any availability option. I don't want to improve my availability right now because this is just the demo. Keeping security type very basic standard. Now, what image you want? Ubuntu server, Windows server, what is your requirement? So I'm going to say that my requirement is Windows Server 2019 Gen 1. Okay. Now in here, if you want to see more images, you can click on this button which is saying see all image. It will take you to the marketplace of Azure where you will have hundreds of image defined over here. You can search here, you can get a heap of the image for the different purpose. So I just came back over here, and now the size. Okay, so again, I'm already, because these are my most recently used size and I prefer the B series over here. But if you want more, you can click on this button, see all size. In this see all size button, you can see there is going to be the different family of the machines, and their purpose is also stated in front of them. D series V version 5, D series version 4, B series, A series, DC, EC, E series. Why you require the different thing? So I will be using, for the demos, I use this B series because this is ideal for the workload that do not need continuous full performance. So this is something that what we are, and I'm also going to do. Why? Because I'm just doing the demo. So here you can see for the general purpose need, we have the D series as well. And for the entry level workload, development or test, we have the A series as well. So, you can pick up whatever you like, whatever you feel is good for your resources and all. So if you go on to the A series, you can get, a whole thing, what is there, how many, how much RAM you will be getting, how much work you will be getting, and all these things are going to be in there. So I personally love the B series because it is cheap as well. Okay, and all the currency you will be seeing that different sections are here. It is showing us what is the machine size, why it is used, how many virtual CPU cores you are having, how much RAM you have, how many data disk. Okay, there are two kind of this. One is the OS and the data disk. So OS disk is going to contain my operating system, and in here data disk is how many data disk is going to contain my data. So how many data disk I can add? 4 to 4, right? How many, what is the maximum input output per second? So you can see that this is the size, 1280 input output per second in here. Okay, so you can see that size. Then with the operating system, so when you create a VM, this VM is going to require an operating system disk, so that okay, so just like you have a physical laptop, you click the power button, it is booting up. So from where it is picking the operating system? From a disk. So the VM, when you will be deploying a VM, you will be also requiring one particular operating system disk that is going to be in there, containing your Windows, or or the Ubuntu's image in there. Plus with that, one more temporary storage will be allocated to you. A temp storage is also going to allocate to you. So you will be having both these things. Then it is saying that there are different, this is deep diving into the Azure, but we are not doing that. Does it support premium disk? Okay, and premium disk has feature of the uh, UEFI and all those kind of things. Okay, tier, your TPM and all those things. So here, and then there is going to be the cost per month. So it will be talking about what is the cost per month. So it will be talking that this is the cost. So you will be picking up things according to your need, right? What is required and what is not. So for that you will be picking up these things. So what I will be doing, let's say that I want to use this B2S size, which is having the two virtual CPU core, 4 gigs of RAM, 4 data disk, and it's cheap as well. So I'm just selecting it. So I selected this size. Now I need to define the windows. So I'm using the window here. So there is going to be the admin account for the window. So what will be its username and password? I'm going to use it. So I'm going to use my favorite username and password. So if you will be looking in any of my series, I always use these username and password, right? And then here again, okay, I'm just going ahead, going on to the next. And here these are the disk option. What kind of disk you are doing? Are you performing encryption there? Yes. Then networking. So I will be selecting that. Okay, what is the region? In the East US. So I just created the virtual network in there. So I want to use that actually, and I don't know why it is not showing me that one. VNet 001. Okay, look like I need to refresh this page, but if I do the refreshing of this page, all these detail will be kind of gone. So what I'm going to do again is just try to switch over the network, switch this thing. Okay, the rest of the thing I think is same. Going on to the next. Okay, look like it's not reading, so sometime it can happen. So what you have to do, you have to refresh the page, but I don't want to do it. So we are going with the default one, okay, which is creating a new one. So even at the time of creation, you can create a new VNet. So I'm just creating a new VNet over here itself, which is the CSP, webinar. So click on create new, you can give the name. This is the address space. Again, you can give the subnet as well, like subnet 0, and I can give the subnet 1, and in here giving the range dot 10.1.1.0 slash 24. Going with this one, click on OK, and this is here. I'm using the subnet 0 for my machine. So this machine will be part of the subnet 0 over here. So I'm having this thing. I'm just going ahead and I'm just keeping everything as it is. Right. So next I'm going on to the management part. Now I'm just going to disable, this give you the different features as well, monitoring, identity, working with the backup and all those kind of things. So we are not interested. We are keeping everything default. Going on to the next advanced setting. Do you want to install some, run some script in this? Do you want to run some extension in this? Right now I will say no. Next I will go to the tags and then review and create. And now you can see that it will be running some final validation, and then charging us around the 2.99 Indian rupees per hour, right? So I'm going to click on create, and it is going to create the questions for this. I am having this VM machine deployed now, so let me just click on this go to resource. So this is my machine, and you can see some of the agent is still not ready, so it will take 1 or 2 more minutes over here. But you can see that this is part of this resource group. It's running. What is its size, its operating system. Now you know you, few things I have skipped because this is not the very specific Azure session. I just wanted to show you how to deploy a VM. So in this VM there will be a public IP address also deployed, and in Azure public IP is a separate resource, so it also got deployed with it. So you will see that there is the location where it is deployed and different things that is there. So this machine is right now in the running state. So if you have to go ahead and connect to this, you will see that you have this connect option. Okay, so you will have this RDP. So either I can download this RDP file and click on it and start running, or I will open my RDP for Mac connection and start running with that. Like I have downloaded this thing, I click on this one. Okay, in the Windows it is going to be more seamless. So right now you can see that it is connecting me onto this machine using the RDP connection. So it is asking me the username. So I will be giving it the username and the password. Demo user one password was the, hopefully this is a password. Continue. Yes, I trust this one. Okay, and now I am having this RDP connection over here. So I am being logged in into the machine, and now I am getting the VM over here, right? So this is my virtual machine which is running on the Windows Server 2020. So you can go ahead, you can access it. Now this is just like of any other Windows server that you have managed. You want to deploy a DNS service, DHCP service, you want to go and work with deploy your forest. You're welcome to do anything, right? So this is what we have in the your Microsoft uh, what I would say, Microsoft Azure's virtual machine. I have created a virtual machine which is based out of my particular VM, based out on my Windows Server 2019. So you want to add role and feature, do anything, you are free to do so. So I'm just going to close this one, and even okay, I'm going to close this RDP connection and come back to my portal here. I just minimize that thing. Right. So I just came back over here. So you can see this was my VM, and this is how I'm going to access it. Right. And I think this was the part here that what we have to do, deploy a VM, VNet, and access your virtual account. So this is just a glimpse on the things that what is going to be in there. Now, again, this is guys, this is the last thing for the day, what we have discussed. Now, what we have, as I was telling you, that this whole boot camp is part of your our new course, which is Cloud Security Practitioner, CSP. So I have discussed all the module of it in the first of all I discussed the whole thing over there.